Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, listen closely, because today is not an ordinary day. This moment, this very moment, is the intersection of your past, your pain, your prayers, and your purpose. Everything you've lived through, the broken days, the silent nights, the victories nobody saw, the tears you wiped alone, the moments you thought you wouldn't make it, they were not random. They were not wasted. They were not in vain. They were preparation. Your life has led you to this exact point. But the question is not how you got here. The real question is, how will you respond now that you are here? You can respond with fear, or you can respond with faith. You can respond with excuses, or you can respond with execution. You can respond with hesitation, or you can respond with boldness, courage, and conviction. Some of you have been waiting for a sign. Well, hear me, this is your sign. You've cried long enough. You've doubted long enough. You've played small long enough. This is the moment where you stand up, straighten your back, and declare, I was made for more than this. Because destiny is calling your name. Purpose is tugging at your heart, and the future is asking, what will you do with what you've been given? You cannot keep carrying old fears into a new season. You cannot keep rehearsing yesterday's failures when God is trying to reveal tomorrow's possibilities. You have come too far, fought too hard, survived too much to retreat now. This is your moment, not next year, not someday. Now the door is open, the opportunity is here, the assignment is waiting. The world needs what you carry. So step forward, walk boldly, move with intention, and remember, when you step into your purpose, heaven steps with you. Your life has led to this moment. Now the question echoes across eternity. Your past was never meant to imprison you. It was meant to prepare you. Every chapter, even the ones you wished you could tear out, carried a hidden lesson shaping the person you are becoming. You didn't walk through storms for nothing. You didn't face betrayal, disappointment, rejection, or loss without purpose. All those moments that felt like punishment were actually preparation. They were molding your character, sharpening your instincts, strengthening your resilience, and stretching your spirit. You thought you were breaking, but in truth you were being built. You may not have understood it while you were living through it. That struggle that kept you awake at night, the burden you carried on your shoulders, the pain you kept hidden behind your smile, those were not signs of defeat. They were signals that something inside you was being developed. There were qualities in you that comfort could never produce. Strength doesn't grow in the sunlight, it grows in the storm. Wisdom doesn't come from ease, it comes from experience. Courage doesn't appear out of nowhere. It comes from standing up again after life has knocked you down. So don't despise where you've been. Don't be ashamed of what you had to survive. Your past is not a mark of failure. It is evidence of your training. There were moments you thought the door closed because you weren't enough. But what if it closed because you were being redirected, refined, realigned? What if the things you lost were never meant to stay? What if the relationships that ended were simply making room for better ones ahead? What if the opportunities that slipped away were protecting you from paths that would have drained you, not grown you? Everything that hurt you didn't come to destroy you. Some of it came to discipline you, to shape you, to teach you what you needed for the next season. You didn't know it then, but you were in the classroom of destiny. Look back at your life. Notice how every dark valley had a lesson hidden inside. Notice how every delay forced you to develop patience you didn't know you needed. Notice how every closed door pushed you toward a better one. Notice how every heartbreak made you wiser about who deserves access to your heart. Notice how every setback taught you how to restart, how to rebuild, how to rise again. You are standing where you are today not in spite of your past, but because of it. You may have walked through pain, but you didn't walk through it empty-handed. You walked out carrying strength. You walked out carrying clarity. You walked out with grit, insight, empathy, and determination. You didn't survive just to survive. You survived to serve a purpose far greater than your past. You survived to help others. You survived so you could step into a life that demands strength, maturity, and depth. And the only way you could gain those qualities was by living through everything you lived through. Your past was preparing you, setting the foundation, building the character, shaping the vision for the moment you're in right now. Don't minimize it. Don't resent it. Don't run from it. Embrace it. Because every experience you've had, every battle you've fought, every tear you've cried was part of the process of becoming who you were always meant to be. Your past was not a prison. It was the training ground for your purpose. Destiny doesn't rush, but it also doesn't shout. It arrives quietly, steadily, deliberately waiting for the moment when you are ready to recognize it. Opportunities, breakthroughs, and turning points often come disguised as ordinary moments. They don't always carry fireworks, applause, or dramatic signs. Sometimes they whisper. Sometimes they nudge. Sometimes they simply stand at your door and knock softly, waiting for you to say yes. Because destiny, no matter how powerful it is, never forces its way in. It requires agreement. It requires alignment. It requires that inner decision where you stop hesitating and finally step into what was meant for you. There are moments in life when you feel something stirring inside you, a sense that you're made for more, a pull towards something greater, a desire to rise higher than the limitations you've known. That stirring is not random. That is destiny waking up inside you, but it remains just a feeling until you choose to act. Every great shift in your life begins with one internal response: I'm ready. Even if you're scared, even if you're uncertain, even if you feel unqualified. Destiny doesn't wait for perfection. It waits for willingness. Think back on the times you felt stuck, confused, or delayed. You thought life was holding you back, but really it was holding you still, long enough for you to develop the strength, wisdom, and clarity to carry what was coming next. Because destiny is not just about opportunity, it is about preparation meeting purpose. When the right moment shows up, it expects you to be positioned, grounded, and willing. And when that moment comes, you can't answer it with old doubts, old fears, or old beliefs. You must answer with boldness. You must answer with intention. You must answer with courage. Some people miss their moment because they're waiting for perfect conditions. They're waiting for certainty, waiting for approval, waiting for a sign so obvious that it eliminates all risk. But destiny is not comfortable. It's confrontational. It confronts your excuses. It confronts your fears. It confronts every part of you that wants to stay safe. And it says if you want what's next, you can't stay who you were. Destiny demands your evolution. It demands your participation. It demands your yes. You may think you're not ready, but readiness isn't a feeling. It's a decision. You decide to move, and everything you need meets you on the way. Doors open as you walk. Strength appears as you step. Provision aligns as you advance. What you thought you lacked begins to emerge once you choose to pursue what was meant for you. Destiny partners with courage. It responds to movement. It activates when you take the first step. There are seasons when life whispers to you that it's time to grow beyond your comfort zone. Time to step into the calling you've been avoiding. Time to walk away from the places that limit you. Time to rise above the doubt that keeps you small. When that season arrives, your response determines everything. Not your background, not your resources, not your qualifications, your response. Because destiny is not reserved for the perfect. It is reserved for the willing. It is not about who has the most talent, but who has the courage to use whatever they've been given. It is not about waiting for the stars to align, but choosing to move while they're still rearranging themselves. Your yes is powerful. It unlocks doors you haven't even knocked on yet. It draws opportunities you haven't seen. It connects you to people who will shape your future. Destiny is waiting, not for a miracle, not for a sign, but for your agreement. And once you give it, everything begins to shift. Everything begins to align. Everything begins to expand. Destiny moves the moment you do. There are seasons in life when everything seems to slow down, when progress feels distant, and when every step forward is met with resistance. In those moments, it's easy to believe you've been forgotten, overlooked, or pushed aside. But what you call a delay is often a divine refinement. It is the space where you are being reshaped, strengthened, and prepared for something larger than your current vision. Delay is not denial. It is development. It is the place where your foundation is being fortified so that when the blessing arrives, you can carry it without collapsing under its weight. Sometimes life puts you in a holding pattern not to punish you, but to protect you. You may not be ready for what you've been asking for. Your character may need strengthening. Your discipline may need sharpening. Your perspective may need expanding. You may need to learn patience, resilience, humility, or endurance, qualities that comfort will never teach you. Growth rarely happens in the fast lane. Real transformation takes place in the silence, in the waiting, in the moments when nothing seems to be moving. Those are the times when something is happening asterisk in asterisk, you, even if nothing seems to be happening asterisk for asterisk you. Think about the seasons when doors closed unexpectedly. You thought you were being rejected, but what if you were being redirected? What if the delay was closing one path so a better one could open? Some doors you prayed for would have taken you into spaces you weren't mature enough to sustain. Some opportunities you wanted would have become burdens you weren't strong enough to carry. Some relationships you hoped would last would have broken you instead of building you. Delay was not life withholding something good from you. It was life preparing you for something better. Refinement is not comfortable. It stretches you. It slows you down long enough to reveal the parts of you that need healing, the habits that need changing, the fears that need facing, and the insecurities that need dissolving. When everything around you pauses, you're forced to confront everything within you. In that slow, quiet space, you begin to understand yourself more clearly. You see your strengths, your weaknesses, your patterns, and your potential. You start letting go of what no longer fits and making room for what's coming next. That's the power of refinement. You may feel frustrated in this season, wondering why others seem to be moving faster than you. But comparison has never healed anyone's heart or accelerated anyone's purpose. Everyone's timing is different because everyone's preparation is different. Your journey requires what someone else's does not. Your promise requires what someone else's does not. Your future requires a version of you that cannot be rushed into existence. It must be grown slowly, steadily, intentionally. There will come a moment when everything suddenly makes sense, when the delays that once made you question your worth become the very testimony of your strength. When you realize that the waiting built wisdom, the stillness built stability, and the slow progress built depth. You will see that you weren't denied, you were being equipped. You weren't being slowed down, you were being set up. You weren't rejected, you were being refined into someone capable of carrying greatness with grace. The delay was your training ground. The waiting was your transformation, and the moment you're stepping into will reveal that everything you thought was holding you back was actually shaping you for exactly where you're meant to be. You cannot step into a new level carrying the same thinking that kept you comfortable in the last one. Every elevation in life requires a transformation of the mind. You cannot rise while holding on to old fears, old assumptions, old habits, and old beliefs that were built in a different version of you. Growth demands a shift, not just in your circumstances, but in your mindset. The greatest battles you will ever fight are the ones in your own head, where your future argues with your fears and your potential wrestles with your doubts. And until you change the way you think, you will keep repeating the same cycles, walking the same circles, and settling for less than what you were created for. There comes a time when you must confront the thoughts that have become your limitations. Thoughts like, I'm not enough, I don't deserve more, this is all I'll ever be, or people like me don't succeed. Those thoughts are not truths. They are lies you learned somewhere along the journey. Maybe you picked them up from childhood experiences, from failure, from rejection, from your environment, or from people who were too broken to believe in themselves. But just because they became familiar doesn't mean they should remain your foundation. Familiar thinking can be the enemy of your future. You cannot cling to old mental patterns and expect new outcomes. Every new season asks you a silent question. Asterisk, are you willing to think differently? Asterisk, are you willing to believe in possibilities that your past never showed you? Are you willing to expect more from yourself than the world expected from you? Are you willing to let go of the stories that kept you small? Because every limitation in your life first existed as a limitation in your mind. And every breakthrough begins as a new thought, a new belief, a new vision of what your life could be. Change doesn't start with your environment. It starts with your awareness. You must recognize where your thinking is outdated, where your assumptions are holding you hostage, and where your beliefs are too small for the life you're trying to build. Your thinking can talk you out of blessings. It can convince you that opportunities are too risky. It can make you sabotage relationships that were meant to lift you. It can keep you imprisoned in comfort zones that were never meant to hold you. Your mind can either be your greatest asset or your greatest barrier. That is why transformation begins on the inside, before it ever manifests on the outside. To reach a new level, you must embrace new thinking, thinking that sees possibility where others see impossibility. Thinking that embraces growth instead of avoiding discomfort. Thinking that values progress over perfection. You must train your mind to expect the good, to prepare for success, to believe that you are worthy of purpose, and to understand that you are capable of more than you've ever attempted. This requires intentionality. It requires unlearning. It requires stepping back from old voices that influenced you and stepping into a higher understanding of who you truly are. You must guard your mind from the negativity that surrounds you and feed it with vision, affirmation, and truth. You must surround yourself with people who lift your thinking, not limit it. You must practice gratitude to shift your perspective and reinforce belief in abundance. You must make decisions that align with who you are becoming, not who you used to be. Growth will always cost you something. Sometimes it costs you relationships that no longer align with your future. Sometimes it costs you comfort. Sometimes it costs you pride. But the reward is freedom. The freedom to think beyond your past, to dream beyond your environment, and to live beyond your fears. Your next level is not waiting on more resources, more opportunities, or more time. It is waiting on a renewed mind. Because the moment your thinking changes, your life begins to follow. Every moment that arrives in your life carries a choice, and that choice demands a response, not a reaction. A reaction is emotional, impulsive, and often rooted in fear, insecurity, or habit. It comes from the wounds of yesterday and the anxieties of tomorrow. But a response is intentional. It is grounded in clarity, wisdom, and alignment with your purpose. It comes from a place of strength, not survival. The difference between the two can determine the direction of your entire life. You were not created to live life at the mercy of your emotions. You were created with the power to choose how you interpret what happens to you, how you rise from what tried to break you, and how you navigate the moments that challenge your character. Life will always bring situations that trigger you, disappointments that sting, delays that frustrate you, people who misunderstand you, and circumstances that catch you off guard. But those moments do not define you. Your response does. What you choose in those moments reveals your maturity, your growth, and your readiness for the next season of your life. When you respond instead of react, you step into your authority. You stop letting your past dictate your present. You stop letting temporary emotions sabotage permanent opportunities. You stop letting fear make decisions that were meant to be guided by faith. A reaction can close doors, ruin relationships, and create regret. A response can open doors, build bridges, and create momentum. That is the power of pausing, of taking a breath, stepping back, and choosing to respond from a place of strength rather than insecurity. Every challenging moment is an invitation to elevate your thinking. When someone disrespects you, you get to decide whether to react from wounded pride or respond with wisdom. When life delays you, you get to choose whether to react with frustration or respond with patience. When fear whispers that you're not enough, you get to choose whether to react with retreat or respond with courage. Every moment holds the potential to shape you depending on how you choose to interpret it. The truth is, reactions come from your history. Responses come from your destiny. Reactions reflect who you used to be. Responses reflect who you're becoming. Reactions are rooted in impulse. Responses are rooted in intention. When you start responding instead of reacting, you step into a higher version of yourself. You stop being controlled by circumstances and start shaping them with your mindset, your habits, and your values. To develop the power of response, you must cultivate self-awareness. You must understand your triggers, your tendencies, and the patterns that try to pull you back into old behaviors. You must learn to pause before you speak, reflect before you decide, and ground yourself before you act. That pause is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the space where clarity emerges. It is the moment where your spirit speaks louder than your stress. It is where vision begins to guide you instead of emotion. Responding with vision means seeing beyond the moment. It means recognizing that your choices today impact your tomorrow. It means understanding that your character is more valuable than your comfort, and that maintaining your integrity is more important than proving a point. When you respond with intention, you protect your peace, you honor your purpose, and you keep your path aligned with where you want to go. Life will continue to test you, not to break you, but to build you. Every test is designed to help you practice responding with strength, with grace, with patience, and with faith. And as you grow, your responses will become more powerful than your reactions. You'll begin to choose stability over chaos, purpose over pride, and alignment over impulse. In the end, your life is shaped not by what happens to you, but by how you choose to respond. Every moment gives you that choice. And when you choose wisely, intentionally, and courageously, you elevate your life to levels reaction could never reach. When you finally make the decision to step forward, when you rise, move, and choose courage over comfort, something powerful begins to shift around you. You are not moving alone. The moment you decide to walk toward your purpose, unseen forces begin to align in your favor. Doors you never noticed start to open. Resources you didn't know existed begin to flow. People you have never met are moved into your path. Opportunities that once seemed impossible suddenly become reachable. This is the mystery of momentum. When you step forward, heaven moves with you. Courage is not just an emotion, it is a catalyst. It activates what was waiting for you. There are blessings already prepared, already assigned, already set aside with your name on them. But they remain locked until you move. They require your participation. They require your willingness to stretch beyond what is familiar. Purpose is activated by motion, not intention. You can have dreams, prayers, and desires, but until you step into them, they remain dormant. But the moment you step, truly step, everything begins to shift. Some people wait for a sign, a guarantee, or a perfect condition before moving. But destiny rarely gives you clarity before it asks for courage. You are not promised a clear path. You are promised guidance as you walk. Steps illuminate as you take them. Strength appears as you need it. Provision shows up on the journey, not in the planning stage. Heaven does not respond to hesitation. It responds to faith in action. Think about the times in your life when you took a risk, when you made a hard decision, walked away from a draining environment, invested in your growth, changed your mindset, or dared to believe in something greater. You may not have known what the outcome would be, but once you moved, things started happening. Peace increased, new connections formed, unexpected help arrived, your confidence grew. Doors opened that were never opened before. That wasn't coincidence. That was alignment. Your courage sends a signal. It tells the world, I'm ready. It tells your future, I'm on the way. It tells your purpose, you can come forth now. Every time you take a step forward, you break the power of fear and awaken the power of destiny. Movement disrupts stagnation. Movement releases favor. Movement unlocks opportunity. There are people assigned to help you, mentors, supporters, collaborators, teachers, but they cannot find you until you step into the spaces where they've been waiting. There are resources assigned to you, ideas, finances, partnerships, but they cannot be revealed until you begin moving in the direction you were created for. Your courage is the key that unlocks everything connected to your next level. Some seasons require you to walk even when your knees are shaking. Some dreams require you to begin even when you feel unqualified. Some doors require you to knock even when you don't know who will answer. But this is the truth. Heaven responds to courage, not comfort. It moves with those who dare to move with faith. And when you step forward, you will feel a shift inside yourself. You will discover strength you didn't know you had, clarity you didn't realize you needed, and resilience you didn't think you possessed. You'll realize that the moment you chose courage, something deep within you awakened purpose, identity, authority. The best version of you emerges when you step out of the shadows and into the assignment meant for your life. So step boldly, step fearlessly, step consistently, not because the journey is easy, but because it is aligned with your destiny. And as you move, remember this: you are never moving alone. Heaven moves with you every single step of the way.